My name is Nick Searcy. I'm the site director here at Gym Skills Columbus. So I technically got started in the sport when I was 3 years old. Prior to that, my parents had put me into a mom and tots class. I was at a dance studio when I was just walking, and then from there, I was there I think for like a year and a half or something like that. And when I was 3 years old, the instructors at the dance studio told them to put me in a class actually at Universal Gymnastics here in Columbus, still around. And from there, I was pulled into being a competitive gymnast at the age of 5. And then from there, I competed my entire junior career. That led me to going to the Ohio State University to be a Buckeye and compete as part of the men's gymnastics team. And we did a lot. My story is crazy because I was not recruited. I knew the gym, I knew the coaches. I wasn't recruited by Ohio State. I had a couple of other offers out of state. Chose to go somewhere that was bigger than myself. I wanted to be around a winning program. I took a chance and walked on. Most people don't know that. From there, I had the opportunity and turned it into a scholarship. I was two-time captain, and we won 3 Big Ten championships as a team. It was a crazy, crazy career, a really fun time of my life in that sense. And during college, a good friend of ours had started a cheerleading gym, and my coaching career started all because she asked myself and a couple of my teammates to come and break in their tumble track. And from there, she asked if we would want to coach some classes. I told her yeah, and it was game on ever since. We took that gym to another gym, and that's when I started coaching gymnastics a lot more. It all started with tumbling for cheerleaders, and then from there, I was coaching a boys team. Got involved in the girls' world as well, and from that point, this gym is no longer. I decided to get out of coaching consistently and spent about 6 or 7 years traveling the country, doing camps, clinics, any types of high-level gymnastics subbing, and so I've been very involved in the world of competitive gymnastics since 2004 or so as a coach. And from that point, we are here now. I think one of the coolest things, for those that know who Kenny is, who was the founder and visionary of Gym Skills, we grew up competing together, and we were a powerhouse team. So looking back on it, I can vividly remember winning state championships, being awarded by the governor, and doing all these crazy things at like 7, 8, 9 years old, all because we had a great group of parents, a great coach around us that made those opportunities possible. But we, growing up and getting to experience that was incredible. Probably one of the most rewarding times and favorite times is that, in walking on to a collegiate team, anybody that's ever had to experience that part of it, you're trying out. You only get a certain amount of time, and you really don't know where things stand in that little bit of time to kind of show what you're capable of, and to see if you're going to be a valuable part of the team, if they want to keep you around, essentially. And I'll never forget sitting on the floor stretching on a Sunday, and our head coach, Miles Avery, he came in with a bag of stuff, put it on the ground, and he gave me a hat and said, "Welcome to the team," because it was the day that we got all of our gear for being part of the team. So that was probably one of the most rewarding times, at least personally. And then probably the most rewarding times were being able to check off winning some of those championships we did, and being part of a brotherhood that still exists today, and being truly something that's way bigger than ourselves. It's kind of led to why I do everything I do as a coach or in the gymnastics world. It's just somebody that was my age when we were younger was doing what we're doing right now for us when we were at all those younger ages. It's definitely a pay it forward deal. So I started off at a dance studio in a preschool class. It was a mom and tots class, and then from there, I was very advanced, and they took me. The instructors decided to tell my parents to take me somewhere to do gymnastics, and that's where I got my first start at 3 years old. And then at 5, I guess I was talented enough to have a coach say, you should probably try to compete. And then, I mean, to be honest with you, none of those decisions were something that I were really a part of outside of just loving the sport. If I didn't love the sport, my parents wouldn't have had me do it. So,
what has gymnastics done for you?
Whew, man, got a couple hours. I think this sport teaches so many things in life. You know, it's a marathon. You know, I always joke, people always ask how old I am because I tell them I've been in the sport for 38 years, which is true. The age of 3, right? Most people retire after 30 years of working. And so we basically lived an entire professional career, so to speak, in a sport, starting at the age of 3, getting to my age now, and you guys can do the math. But in that timeline, you know, it's always been the constant of what was around my life. It teaches you so many things from a mental standpoint that bleed over into whatever other careers, whether it's sports, whether it's your professional career. You know, being able to constantly come in and work tirelessly at details and having standards and expectations. You know, one of the hardest things I would liken, you know, gymnastics is sort of like golf, because if you don't do what you're supposed to do or if something messes up, you can't look at anybody else. It's on you. You're the one that gets to create everything that you have. And if there's a mistake or there's something that you decide that you're going to work less at, then you have to be okay with the results. I can't blame an inanimate piece of equipment for my wrongdoings, right? If I fall on a routine, it's not the equipment's fault, it's my fault. And if the equipment was a part of it, still probably comes back to me because I probably didn't set something correctly or whatever it might be. So having a really good self-awareness, having a really good sense of humility, having the ability to be able to visualize and execute. And I would say probably the biggest part of it is being able to have a really, really confident way about you because you're so in tune with your mind and your body. So I think that's a big piece. Outside of that, you know, even professionally, it's a sport that I love. So because I'm around it, I'm always rejuvenated, whether it's because we're around the kids, whether it's because I'm around other professionals, whether it's because I get asked to come out and be around even more professionals that are more experienced than I am. You know, it's just a community, a network, and it's done wonders for me in my life just being around it because of the intangibles that I get, but also because of any of the networking and just the learning aspect. It's a great group of people to be around. In practices is where everything happens. If there's a lot of people that don't understand that. Even growing up, people would be like, you practice for 4 hours a day? What do you do? It's like, what don't we do? And you can only imagine, you know, to learn a new skill, it takes 1,500 turns just to be 8 out of 10 on it. That's a lot of turns. So a lot goes right, but not in the beginning. Most of it goes wrong. And so a lot of falling, a lot of little snafus. I think probably one of my favorite memories, it wasn't my favorite at the time. One of my favorite memories, I finally, like after getting to Ohio State, I finally got the chance to suit up and have my first competition. I registered in my first year, so I just sat and trained for a year. I was chomping at the bit to be able to go out and actually perform. And first meet ever, first time I touched the equipment ever. And I do this amazing routine, everything I was expected to do. You know, there's a couple thousand people in the stands. And I do my dismount. And in my head, I launched this thing. It was one of the best routines I've done. I haven't felt adrenaline like this in forever. And it just felt really good. So I do my dismount, and I'm thinking to myself, because apparently I'm really confident this time, that I'm going to stick, I'm going to kick out of this lane a little bit and show it off. And the next thing you know, I'm peeling my face off the mat. And I literally stood up. One of the judges that was judging us, he's judged us for our entire lifetime. So know him really well. And he just looks up at me. He's like, welcome to Ohio State. And so it was probably one of my favorite memories because he broke the monotony of what I just went through, and to look around, everybody's, you hear the gas like, oh, And then everybody's cheering because I got up, not because I did a really good routine. But his comment right there it's the epitome of it, right? Like, we've done this stuff so much. But yeah, it was a good entry, let's put it that way. So, to take it back briefly, I've known Kenny since I think we're 6 or 7 years old. And when he got out of high school, he went and started coaching, and eventually started what is today. This is 20 years ago. And I went a different route, and I competed. So during school, I got to see him grow what is today. I got to see it right from the beginning. When my wife and I were moving back, and we were looking at either starting a gym ourselves. We were probably going to coach somewhere just for a little bit, but we ran into Kenny, and he was in need of some help. He knew we were looking for opportunities as well, and the biggest thing that we wanted to do was just make sure that our philosophies, our way of what we would want in a gym, aligned with what he believed the gym should be about and all that. And so, I already knew why Kenny started the gym. All those pieces were absolutely in line with what we do this for, and why we want to be a part of this community. We just want to serve. And when I say the community, I mean the gymnastics community, whether it's here, whether it's anywhere else. We want to be able to bring a sport that's done so much for us to people that might never even known that it existed, and the other side of it is we wanted to make it accessible, generally financially, and on top of that, we wanted to have a place that was completely inclusive, and this sport allows for that. It's a bunch of individuals because it's an individual sport, and so our thoughts and our outlook on what a gym should be is that our gym can have a place for almost anybody to be here if they like it here. We can have programs for all those people, different tracks to run on, and we don't have every sport. It mostly all revolves around gymnastics, but from ninja to gymnastics to tumbling to our preschool program, all the way to having an educational preschool program. All these different things that we were doing anyway before this, and we were planning on doing on our own once we got back. And so the fact that this opportunity arose, that was a big piece of it, because we aligned perfectly with everything Gym Skills stood for. The other side of it is just because, when you have relationships in your life that are like family, what better way to spend your days than to build something that impacts a lot of lives together, And so instead of trying to go do our own thing, potentially in Columbus, and being another arm of the gymnastics community that actually doesn't really grow together, it would be technically in somewhat of a competition, right? Why not combine forces and make it even bigger than we ever imagined? And that's truly why we landed here. The first day we stepped in, the staff that I met were incredible. I love the camaraderie that I sensed. It was a really cool team of people, and the other side of it is what our goals and objectives were coming in. It was because Kenny wanted to make this one of the best places you could walk into when it came into the gymnastics world, and that's what we've really worked on. And so the fact that we had a need to serve, and we also had a team of people that we felt like we were right at home the first time we stepped in here, it was a no-brainer for us. My favorite part about coaching, I think, deep down there is a fulfillment to it, obviously, but it's funny because I never, the best coaches don't focus on themselves. I've never met a coach that focuses on themselves that you would ever look at and go, yeah, that's who I want to be as a coach. And generally they fizzle out. They don't last. The best coaches are the coaches that are there because they know they're paying it forward. They know that they're giving something to somebody that, again, was given to them by somebody else. And I look at it from a standpoint that, being involved in youth, especially in this day and age, where parents are strung out a lot of times. We meet them all the time. Both parents have to work. They don't get to see their kids. A lot of times, their kids being in here, we feel a very big sense of responsibility that we're helping grow them as human beings more so than athletes. From all those intangibles of, how to manage themselves and be aware of themselves, or overcome fears, or manage their fears, manage their emotions. I think that's probably one of the biggest places today that I love the most, is being able to work on the mental side with a lot of kids, because with technology, screens, all these things that everybody's so stimulated today that a lot of times they're not capable yet at this youth to be able to manage emotions and manage themselves mentally on a lot of levels. And so we spend a lot of time on that, because that's what it takes to be able to do the things that we do in here on a physical side. And we just view it as, if we can be a reinforcement, we can be another environment that is that is a resource for them to just continue to grow in those facets. I mean, these kids are going to become the most incredible human beings you can imagine, right? And it's not because of us, it's just because we're a little part of that, and we take that very seriously. And I think that's one of the things I hang my hat on the most, is we really work on kids' goals, whether it's in classes, whether it's competitive gymnastics, and we want to help them dream a little bit, really wrap their heads around what they want, and then be a big part of helping them get it. It's not about us ever. It's always about them. And so being able to be a part of that is honestly what makes us want to be in the gym every day, and wake up every day and come to the sport, or come to this environment. So, all right, so Kenny and I, we go way back. It's funny because it's not your orthodox relationship, in the sense of me coming in, my wife coming in, running a gym and working for someone. We've always worked for ourselves anyway. So when we were coming into this, Kenny knew this, but we've known each other ever since we were at a gym in Dublin, Ohio. It was called Midwest Gymnastics. It's no longer around. And he came there because he was in a Parks and Rec program before that, and they said he should go look at it being a competitive gymnast, and so they landed at Midwest. I landed at Midwest because our boys program switched from another gym at the time, and so we were there probably until we were about 12 or 13. And long story short is, when you're together for so long, as friends, as teammates, your family becomes their family. We're more like brothers than we are friends. Kenny's mom is our office manager here, and she's like a second mom to me. And so when you spend so much time together, you go through a lot. A lot of phases of life growing up. We always had a common thread, though, in what we were doing in the sport. And so even though we're definitely two different individuals, because we're all individuals, there's a lot of commonalities to us. We see eye to eye on almost everything, on a lot of levels. And it's not just on the surface. It's like there's just an understanding. We kind of we're cut from the same cloth, so to speak. But no, we met in our junior stages of the sport, and then we grew together, competing together, traveling together. Myself and him were really the top two at our ages. We were like the top two gymnasts at our gym, until we just started going down to another gym, because we moved to another gym. But we had to travel to Lancaster every day from Columbus. So 6 days a week we were doing an hour one way, so a 2-hour round trip, just to go do this. That's how committed we were to it. And so again, this has just been our life. We've done all these things. We experienced the hardships. We experienced the successes together. And even to this day, all those guys that were part of these teams, we all grew together. All of our families are still really close. In fact, that's why Kenny and I first talked about gym skills, is because my mom ran into him at a reunion, and we weren't there. And my mom said, "Yeah, you should talk to Nick, see what he's doing," type of deal. So, knowing each other for so long, and living so much life together, coming from the same core about the sport, and experiencing all those things together, it's been a really cool full circle moment. Our kids right now are in the program. So seeing our daughter and his daughter, our daughter's 3, his daughter's just turned 5, and to see Carlo and CJ running around the gym together, it's pretty serendipitous, if you will. It's a really cool, again, full circle feeling. And even like my mom comes and picks up the kids, and her and Miss Sherry get to catch up, and it's just like old times. It's just we've fast forward about 20 years, So it's a really, really cool thing. So now that we've embarked upon this journey, it's game on. The biggest hobbies, I mean, honestly, it's funny to think about this, but like outside of gymnastics, I mean, this the business of gymnastics is almost like a hobby. It's like, we work and play at the same time. It's why we're in it, to be honest. It's a love of ours. When it comes to other hobbies, I mean, outside of learning new games, because my son's really into all this stuff, and he's 7 years old, and I'm learning Pokemon for the first time, all those things. Getting good at it, by the way. Golf is always, if I had not done gymnastics in college, I had golf in my back pocket. So it's always been one of my hobbies, even though I probably don't play as much as I would love to. I generally play in competitive scenarios, so if I want to be competitive, I have to actually go do it more, and so I don't commit to that, just knowing my timelines. But if anybody ever wants to go play, I'll definitely go play some golf. And I think just outside of the gym, keeping busy on building, doing projects, things of that sort. I'm just one of those people. If I had to eat one type of food for the rest of my life, I would have to say that I would roll the dice on 3 different types. Is that fair? So I would either have sushi as an option. I would either have Mediterranean or Greek as an option, or I would probably go with Indian. So any one of those 3, I'm in. Funny thing. This is me as a coach. I don't actually believe in motivation, so I actually believe in irritation. My best coaches would be able to ask me the right questions to put personal responsibility on me to get the things done, and in the most healthy way. It's actually, they cared so much that they would hold me accountable. And I think, when it comes to it, like I said, if it's motivation, you want to call it that, great. But it's got to be deeper than that. It's got to be a why behind what you're doing, a purpose that's bigger than you. And so, my kids are a big one. My family's a huge one. The whole reason that we're in this world of gymnastics on another level is because we wanted to be around this environment with our kids. And so to be successful in this realm and to be able to come into a gym every day where they come to work with us, they get to see us work tirelessly to make sure that this is where we want it to be, and it's going the direction we want it to get to. That's a huge piece of our why. I think, we only live once. Everybody's on borrowed time at this point, and so I look at it from a standpoint as like there's a lot of things that I know I want to accomplish in my life, and this is just a piece of that journey, and it definitely plays a part in that journey. But we got to get it done now because I have other things to check off, right? So if there's anything that really motivates me, is because I know time is limited, and so we're going to make the most of our time.